how I got this bedroom taken apart and how I got the flooring in. I guess it's a little premature because I don't have footage yet of painting the walls or putting the baseboards back on, but at least it's the progression of the floor. So stay tuned. Hope you enjoy. And please let me know in the comments if you have any questions about what we used. I'll link some supplies down in the comments or in the description below. So give us a like and please subscribe so we can keep making these. Say thank you. This room had a lot more stuff in it than I'd like to admit. It was supposed to be the nursery, so it housed the dressers for Castiel and Lilu, but it also kind of became my office. So it had extra furniture, my computer, cords, tons of R&F products, and all kinds of things. So this gigantic dresser of Lilu's was very heavy, and there's no way I felt like moving that thing halfway through the house by myself, so I waited for Eddie to help. And now this bed was a lot of fun because I really thought I could get this gigantic queen size bed out and through the hallway, and it just would not go anywhere. I ended up eventually just storing it in the bedroom across the hall in the girls' room, but it was an adventure. This part's fairly self-explanatory, right? I'm doing the right thing here. I'm cutting through the carpeting and the padding in small strips so that it's easy to carry out. I get a little bit of trouble with all the clothes hanging in the closet because, you know, who would empty the closet first before they did this kind of labor-intensive work? So I'm just cutting my strips straight down and rolling it up so that they're manageable size pieces to carry outside. No, I'm not doing that anymore. Who would do such a thing? No, we're going to do the entire room. We're just going to roll it all up and I don't know, we'll get a wheelbarrow, something, right? It'll come out. This is the part that's safe for me to show you because I'm wearing proper equipment. I'm wearing gloves. I'm using a pry bar. And I'm carefully and meticulously taking out all of the tack strips. This is not the part where I was wearing no gloves and using a regular claw hammer and a screwdriver and putting holes in my fingers. I only wanted to show you responsible footage. Well, I am finishing up on removing the tack strips in the room so that I can, and the baseboards, so that I can get started on the laminate panels that I'm going to be putting into this room. Wish me luck. Once I got into a groove, it was pretty easy to just use the pry bar to rip those nails out of the, right out of the cement subfloor. Just a little vibration from the rubber mallet and a crowbar or pry bar. And that's it. Just slowly go around the whole room. And then basically did the same thing with the baseboards just from the top. Just created a little bit of leverage. Used that rubber mallet to create some vibration. I mean, admittedly, baseboards are a little bit more difficult. And most of them were pretty well intact. So I didn't have to do much damage. There were a couple that were a little bit weakened and I just snapped them right in half with my hands and chucked them. But for the most part, I was able to save them. So that was really nice. They were really tight in the corners and I actually had to get all the way around before I could get both of them out together. And this is where the real fun begins. I am so happy with this purchase. This poly sheeting that I bought for the floors, the width of the rolls is almost perfect for this room. So there was just one tiny extra piece that I had to finish the room up with, but it fit really nicely. And I just sealed it with some duct tape at the one seam that I had throughout the main floor. Obviously the closet was a little bit more piecework. The underlayment, the foam padding, is where it was a little trickier because that stuff is so thick that the rolls are much smaller. So I just rolled it out across the room, I cut it down and then I taped them together. It came with its own tape. And then I could get to the really fun part. The snapping floor is really, really easy to put together. I made some mistakes at the beginning. Obviously, you know, I didn't get things super tight and I'd have to go back. Or at one point, I got really overzealous. And while Eddie was outside cutting a piece down for me, I decided that I could just go ahead and finish up another entire row. Well, it doesn't really work like that. You can't really leave a piece out of the middle. So I ended up having to start over in some spots. But that's okay. You live and learn, right? Overall, I mean, it's a good skill to have, right? And it's really satisfying to be able to say, man, I really put all of this together on my own. And once you get past the first, I don't know, maybe 4 layers, or 4 rows, it's really, really easy. You just keep tightening everything up to make sure that it's all lining up properly, and that's about it. Eddie had to come in with a saw and cut around the door frame a little bit to make room so that my pieces of laminate could slide right underneath there. It's an expanding floor, so you always have to leave a little bit of gap and you have to leave some extra room so that when the humidity changes, you have room for the floor to expand and contract. Alright, so I'm back. I've got my knee pads on this time, so I don't kill myself. Got my board that he cut for me. So I have my little piece that I need to finish this row. And I also now have a starting piece for the beginning of the next row. No. Watching enough videos of carpenters, they'll explain why that's important. And if you read the box, if you read the instructions that come with your planks, you'll understand why that's important. You can't have your joints too close together or you'll have bowing later on in the future, so you need everything to be offset. So we're going to slide the joint in at the top, slide down to it where it's leading this one, and you really just press it down. And sometimes they make a loud clip, and sometimes it's really anticlimactic, and that's it, it's in. When they're in, but they're not necessarily super tight, and you can see where they're not even, they're not matching up properly. I bought it just as cheap, I think it was $15 for my kit that came with a new rubber mallet, which we already have one, so now we have 2, which worked out because I have one on either side of the room most of the time. You take your pry bar, and it's cushioned, so you're not damaging your planks. And you just give it a couple of knocks. You don't want to lean on it while you're doing it. You can watch them move up just a hair. Just so the joints are a little bit tighter. It's really good. I guess it needed to be tightened up. professional. Let me take you down here. So I cut off piece from the edge of that row. I'll bring this one down. This gets complicated once you start getting really close here. And this is fairly simple because you're just going to make sure you maintain your distance from the wall. But you really just slide it in and press it down. And then you'll start with a fresh plank. Here are my spacers that I neglected once I got further along. All right, so we slide into our groove on the top. Got a full length of plank here, so sometimes it gets a little tricky making sure that everything has been lined up so far. Slide yourself down. And maybe we'll get a good snap. Oh, you guys didn't hear it probably, but when it clipped in, it engaged, and there was actually a snap this time. And repeat. And the first couple rows are definitely more complicated than the last few rows. Once you've got everything in line, it goes in pretty easily. Not super complicated, just a little time consuming. And if you want to get it right, you gotta work for it. That's where the pry bar came in handy though. Oh, this one is gonna make a snap. Come on, you can do it. There it is. That's the snap I wanted you to hear. All right. I'm not a professional. I just play one on TV. So I'm gonna get the rest of this finished up, and then Mr. Man's gonna go around and do the inside of my closet. I'm a little bit claustrophobic and I have really shaky hands, so when things get intricate, it's best that I leave it to somebody with a steadier hand than myself. Well, this one's done, this floor is done. It was not as hard as I expected it to be. It went pretty easily and pretty smoothly. I still have to paint the walls and put down some baseboards, but I'm pretty happy with it. I'm pretty excited about how easy it was. I started in the back of the house so that hopefully I would improve by the time I get to the living rooms, which are going to be, you know, something that people see every day. The bedrooms are a little easier to hide if you make a mistake, because you put furniture on it and you just, you know. So anyway, moving along. Things are progressing pretty quickly, so pretty pleased. I'm pretty excited to get it finished up soon. So hope you enjoyed watching. It took a while for me because we had, you know, stuff come up in between, and because I'm home on my own a lot with the kids, so it's like get a little bit done, and then, you know, I have to take a lot of breaks to keep everybody situated all the time. So I hope it was informational and maybe a little bit entertaining to watch, and thanks for sticking with it. See ya.